moving on, the government is looking to bring out a new draft for the broadcast bill after fresh consultations with stakeholders. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that reworking the regulations for a new bill will likely take over a year. Ashmit Kumar joins us now with the details. Ashmit, what are your sources telling you?
Well, it's a huge relief coming in as far as the content creation space is concerned. They were hugely concerned about the draft broadcast bill. Now what we learned from highly placed sources within the government is that now a total rethink, a total overhaul is in order. That's what the government's formal position now is. Now, here's the context. In November of 2023 and then subsequently earlier this year, in the month of July, there were draft bills that were circulated with the stakeholders. One of the concerns was that the draft bill that came out in 2024 was circulated privately. Now, a number of concerns were red flagged in terms of the obligations that are cast on content creators, stiff penalties, vague and very broad definitions placed as a part of these broadcast bills. Now, what we think is that after last week, when the latest version of the broadcast bill was withdrawn, now the thinking appears to be that there is need for a greater rethink as far as regulating this entire space is concerned. Highly placed sources within the government tell us is that the government's intent is to enable the content creation space, not to disturb it in any shape or form. The key words that are being sent out by leaders within the government are open. The government is open to wider consultations. It is looking to consult and speak to all the relevant stakeholders in this space. The second key word being sent out is flexible. The government has said, at least highly placed sources within the government tell us, they are flexible in terms of adopting a new framework that will be relevant to this content creation space. And in that spirit, what highly placed sources tell us is that there are two key important takeaways. Number one, that there will be wider consultations and that the drafts that have been circulated so far will not form the basis of this consultation. There will be fresh thinking, there will be fresh consultations, fresh questions asked, fresh input sought from the industry. And on the basis of that, a call will be taken on whether or not what an ideal framework is, and a new bill can also possibly be deployed. There is also a possibility that no regulation perhaps is required. Maybe that is one of the results that the government may arrive at after consultation, and that is something that also, again, the government leaders insist they are open to and they're open to considering. How long? There's no definite timeline to this, but given the wide space of consultation that the government is keen on after the lashback, after the criticism, after first two rounds of the broadcast bill, now the government says they're willing to wait and watch. They're willing to take a more mature approach. They're willing to take a more staggered approach in seeking out all the advice from the relevant stakeholders. So clearly a pause button being hit there. The government assuring that some of the concerns that have been raised by the industry, whether it's jurisdictional overlap, whether it's overlapping legislation, whether it's broad definition, all these aspects will be gone into in grave detail, and it will only be taken forward after greater consultation from the industry, from the stakeholders. So clearly the government sending out that message that there's a rethink in order for the broadcast bill. It wants to encourage the content creation space and that it is open and flexible to suggestions and comments coming in from the industry. Back to you.
All right, Ashmit, thank you for those details. Government puts a pause button on the bill.